So now that we've talked about remote tracking branch references, quite a mouthful there, let's talk about working with remote branches. So for example, if we have a repo that we clone or that we want to work with that has multiple branches on GitHub, how do we work with those branches locally? Let me demonstrate what I'm referring to. I'm going to go to this repository I've made called Remote Branches Demo. You can find the link along with this video. I recommend you try this. So on the main branch, the default branch, we have two files, cactus with a nice cactus ASCII art and rose with rose ASCII art. But there are 4 total branches. And when I clone this repository, I'll copy that URL. I'll go to my local machine. We'll back out. Sure, into here, not a repo, git clone, and then this URL. All right, so we now have this remote branches demo, and if I type git status, I'm on the main branch. Okay, that's the default branch. As we've seen, if instead the default was master, that's the branch I end up with. Whatever the default branch is when I clone, that's what I get. So what about these other branches? Do I have them here? Git branch. No, I only have the main branch. So how do I work on, for example, the food branch where we have banana and popsicle? Or how do I work on the movies branch where we have Ghostbusters and Bambi? Well, it's actually not bad at all. I'll demonstrate it here. So in our example on these slides, we have a master branch that's the default and a puppies branch. Both of these are on GitHub. So when I clone that project, I get all the history, all the data, but that does not mean that it's all in my workspace at once. So as we saw, when I typed git branch, we only saw main, or in this example, master. I don't see all these other branches, right? Just main. So what exactly is going on? Well, if we look at the remote branches, remember the -r, it's a very different outcome. Git branch -r, and we see every one of those branches, origin/fantasy, origin/food, main, and movies. So my local repo, it knows about all of those branches, and it has a remote tracking reference where it can tell me where each one of those is. Remember, they're just like a bookmark that says, this is where fantasy is, this is food, this is main. So we know about them here. My repo knows them, but I don't see full-fledged branches for them. So how do I make that happen? Well, we need to talk a little bit about the relationship between a full-fledged branch and a remote tracking branch. By default, when we clone a repository, let's say in this diagram, it's a master branch that we end up with. That master branch is automatically tracking. It's connected to the remote branch origin/master, right? They're both master. They have the same name. So that's the default behavior. I didn't make that happen. Every time we've cloned something, in our case, it's main, right? On the main branch that we're currently on, we see this sort of message, up to date with origin/main. I did not make that connection myself. I didn't say, okay, Git, there's a main branch here, and I want it to be connected to origin/main. That just happened. So we have these other branches that are remote, in our case, it's movies, origin/food, origin/fantasy. In this example, origin/puppies. So how do I make a branch here that is connected to origin/puppies? I want to work on that. So I could check out one of those branches. Check out origin/puppies or check out origin/whatever we have. Let's just take a look. Let's do origin/food. So I can do that. Check out origin/food. Well, I'm a liar. We can't do that. We need git checkout origin/food. And now we're in detached head, but you can see banana.txt and popsicle. And there they are in their glory. We've got banana and popsicle. So I'm able to check those out, but I'm in detached head. It's not the same thing as what we kind of talked about here. What I want is a branch that I can work on that is connected to origin/puppies. Rather than just checking out the remote branch, I want to actually have my own branch here that is connected to it. So the way we do this is actually super easy. Thanks to the new git switch command, we just switch to a branch with that exact same name. So if git detects that we make a branch called puppies and there is already a remote branch called puppies, it's going to just assume that we want them connected. So we can change that, and we could have a branch called puppies that actually is tracking a branch called origin/cats. We can do that ourselves, but by default, we usually want them to be the same. When I do git switch puppies, Git will make me a local puppies branch, and it will automatically set it up to track the remote branch origin/puppies. So I end up with my own branch puppies, and it's pointing or it's connected to origin/puppies in the same way that master is connected to origin master, or in the same way that main is connected to origin main. So if I go back to main, as we've seen before, right, automatically connected. If I now switch to one of these branches, one of these remote branches that I don't have, like movies. If I switch to movies, which again, we don't have that branch, and normally if I try and switch to a branch that doesn't exist here, we get this, invalid reference, right? I can't just do git switch plants. There is no branch called plants. But if I do git switch movies, take a look at that. I now have a branch called movies set up to track remote branch movies from origin. And it switched me over. So now I'm on the movies branch. And if I type git branch, we actually have movies and main. And if I take a look here, we've got Bambi. Hello, Bambi. So cute. And Ghostbusters. Type git status. And you'll see your branch is up to date with origin/movies. So we're now connected. This branch movies is referencing, it's tracking origin/movies. So the old way of doing this, just so you know, before git switch, it looked like this. It was slightly harder to remember and definitely clunkier. So git switch simplifies this a lot. If you want to work on a branch that is on a GitHub repo, you don't have it locally, you just use git switch and then the name of the branch. So super simple. Let's try one more example. So I can view all those remote branches, git branch -r. Let's go to the fantasy branch. I could check it out, right, and just go into detached head and take a look. Or I can make my own branch here that is tracking origin fantasy. And that's what I'm going to do. Git switch fantasy. Branch fantasy set up to track remote branch fantasy from origin. I'm on this branch fantasy now. I have 3 branches locally. And over here, we see centaur and dragon. So let's make a change. I'm going to add a new file in here. How about on this fantasy branch, touch phoenix.txt. And I have a phoenix that I've copied from a free ASCII art website. Okay, so I'll add that. Git add phoenix, git commit, add phoenix.txt. All right, so what will I see when I type git status? Well, my fantasy branch is now ahead of origin/fantasy by 1 commit. Just like in the previous video, we had our main branch ahead of origin/main. So that means I have work on this machine. I have 1 commit on the fantasy branch that I can push up. So just like any other branch, git push, and then the remote origin, and then the branch we want to push. And if I want to push my new Phoenix commit, it's on the fantasy branch, so that's the branch I'll push up. And then if I head back to GitHub and I switch to our fantasy branch, we now have Phoenix showing up. All right, so what I wanted to show in this video is that if we use the git switch command and then a name of a branch that may not exist locally yet, but is a remote branch, if we use the correct matching name, Git will make us that branch locally and set it up automatically to track the remote branch with the same name. So that's really, really useful and very common. If somebody tells you, hey, I just pushed up a new branch called bug fix, or help me, Colt, I'm stuck. Well, I don't have that on my machine. I can easily get it by using git switch. Okay, so in the next video, we're now going to talk about a new command called fetch.